Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International. And here on the Real Estate Podcast, we're going to talk about smart strategies to accelerate your real estate business. And today I want to talk to you about business planning and how business planning can actually seriously drive and affect your business in such a positive way if you just take a little bit of time to put a plan together and then to march and follow that plan throughout the year. And I'm going to ask you actually to create a plan, to give it a test over a couple months, and then check your results and see how it works for you. And agents that I've worked with who've done this all around the country have contacted me back later, and they've just said, thank you for making me do that, because that one-page marketing plan has made such a difference in my business. So right now, as we're filming this, a lot of companies throughout the country, they are doing what's called year-end planning. So it's in the month of November, December, and they're getting together and they're talking about strategy. They're talking about plan. And basically what they do is they take a look at their current business. What did we do in the last year? What's going on in our marketplace? What are some opportunities that we could take advantage of? And then, okay, we've identified some opportunities. How are we going to do that? So then they put some tactics together, and they create a list and a strategy and a plan, and they'll put that together into a plan, and then they'll check in on themselves throughout the year. Name one successful large business that does not do annual planning and quarterly check-ins. And I don't think you would be able to name one. And that's just a key driver to business. And when we think about our real estate businesses, your real estate business, you are the CEO of your own real estate business. And you should be doing that same thing in your business. And if you do that, you can really maximize profitability. You can seize some opportunities to increase your business and reach your goals. Now, not everyone's goals are the same. I know some people have the goal of, I want to do more transactions and make more money. I know some agents that their goal is, I want to do the same amount of transactions, make the same amount of money, but I want to work half the amount of time and spend more time with my family or more time doing something else that I love. So whatever your goal is, though, business planning can help you get there. So we're going to talk about 4 key things you can do in the next 10 minutes. That's how long we're going to talk here on the podcast today, about what 4 key things that you can do to drive your business forward and have more success next year, drive and maximize profitability. So step number one is to actually just to create a plan, to put some sort of a plan in place. As I mentioned, right now, year-end planning for a lot of companies, they're doing this all throughout the country, and it's just something that they do every year. And I ask you to please do the same thing. Write a plan out, put a plan in place, and I'm going to show you how easy it can be. Now, the Army has a saying that I want to share with you, and it's called the 5 Ps. And I've just been told this by veterans that they have a phrase called, the 5 Ps, and the 5 Ps stand for prior planning prevents poor performance. Hard to say. Prior planning prevents poor performance. So by having a plan and taking the time to put a plan in place, you can often move faster. You can actually be more successful. And again, if you do this in your business, then hopefully you can increase your performance. So what do we need to put together? So I'm going to ask you to put together an annual plan. It's going to be a 1-page plan. If you just put a plan together in a 1-page piece of paper with action items and tactics underneath it, then you can take a full year to execute those items and execute that plan, and hopefully then you will reap the rewards from doing that. Now, along with your annual plan, I want you to schedule 4 quarterly check-ins. Because in any business that I was talking about that's doing this annual planning, every quarter they kind of stop and they take notice and they take assessment of, okay, how did the first 3 months of our plan go? How are we coming along on completing the objects and the tactics that we want to execute. And it's often very telling. So what I have for you is I'd like you to do an annual plan, and usually do that in November and December. But if it's the middle of the year and you're watching this in July, just do your plan and then do next 2-quarter check-in and then do an annual plan in November and December. It's just a great way to do it. And then basically you have 3 months called quarter one, January, February, and March. So in April, take a minute to stop, look at your business, assess your business, and you also have some goals that you've set. So let's just say that next year that someone wanted to do 40 transactions in a year. Well, at the end of Q1, have they completed 10 transactions or more? Are they on pace to do their 40 for the year, or are they behind? Oftentimes, too, we like to get ahead of those goals that we set. So basically, if I've set a goal of 40 transactions in a year, hopefully by the end of March, I'm at 15 transactions, so I'm ahead of schedule, ahead of pace, and that way if something were to happen and there's a slowdown that comes, you know, I still meet my year-end goal. So start with an annual plan, do 4 quarterly check-ins, do a check-in in April, do a stop and check in July, stop and check in October, and a stop and check in December. And then basically that'll keep you on pace for the year. Okay, so how do we know what to put on our plan? So point number 2 is learn how and where to spend your time. You basically only have so many hours in a day, in a week, and you need to make sure that you're doing the right things. Sometimes in business, saying no to some things is actually the right thing to do, because then you can say yes to the right things that you should be doing. So basically, take a look at where and how you should spend your time. Attend some classes so you know what are the effective items that you should be doing. Or when in a minute we're going to talk about analyzing your business, you can look at your business and say, look at how much success I got from doing this activity. I need to do more of that. So learn how and where to spend your time. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth here. I just want you to see this. We've created something called the Realtor Job Description, and it's 10 things that every real estate agent needs to be doing on a regular basis to grow their business. What a lot of agents don't realize is that 5 out of those 10 items are marketing related. Marketing is what really drives the transactions, drives your business, increases your business, and basically what we need to be doing is we need to be doing equal amounts of time in the transactional element of our business, taking care of our clients, serving them, but also then with the marketing side, which I've put here in red. So these 5 items are the marketing items in red you should be spending your time. So point number 2, learn where and how to spend your time. A portion of your time every week should be spent on these 5 items. A portion of your time every month, every quarter, every year, and that's what will drive your business. Now, here's an interesting statistic that plays into where should you spend your time. In marketing, we have a phrase, it's called low-hanging fruit. We want to go capture the easiest business first, the lowest hanging fruit that is easiest to capture, rather than working really hard and then getting not very much return on our investment. According to industry statistics, according to the National Association of Realtors, if you look at their profiles of home buyers and sellers and where business comes from to an agent, 80% of a realtor's business in the last 12 months came from referrals and their sphere of influence. I recently just spent a month interviewing 6 of the top agents across the country about their database and how they engage and work their database. And they all seem to concur with this statement that 80% of their business was coming from referrals and sphere of influence. And so in order to really engage into that, you need to basically have a database, and you need to work that database, and you need to engage that database, and that's where you should spend your time. So let's put this into your business plan, point of view. So if you only have 10 hours a week to spend on marketing, then 8 hours of it should be spent on your database, your sphere of influence, engaging referrals, engaging your customers, because 8 out of 10 transactions come from doing that. So marketing hours, 8 out of 10, should be spent in that area. So now the statistics I'm sharing with you, or the tips and tricks, these are just things that I've heard from top agents, what works for them. And those 6 top agents I interviewed recently, all of them would probably say that they spent about, out of their marketing hours, 80% of that marketing had to do with engaging their referrals, their sphere of influence, and their database. So, putting a business plan together, where and how should we spend our time? So I put together here a short list for you, based again on feedback from top agents. Number 1 is build and organize a database. Number 2, though, is expand that database. So you have a database, how do you add to it? How do you keep it growing and thriving? So spend time expanding that database. It's not just about the number you have in your database, though. You have to engage them. So you want to engage that database, connect with them, communicate with them, serve them, send them information and things that they need and that they might find valuable. Give that to them, and you're planting seeds at that point. Now, additionally, you need to prospect and just generate leads. Prospect and generate leads for business. Some of that in your database and in your sphere, some of it in new places that you're going to go out and prospect, generate new leads, and then basically the goal is to get them back into your database and into your sphere, which is how you expand your database. The top agents that I talk to on a regular basis, they all do not expect leads or business just to be given to them. They engage their sphere, engage their database, expand it, but they also spend time every week prospecting and generating leads. And they basically, they want to be in control of their own business and in control of their own success. So they're going to make sure they spend time doing this. So in your annual plan, you need to have time in all of these areas. Additionally, presentations to buyers and sellers. At some point, you're going to be in front of your customer, and you need to have your presentation practiced. You need to have it focused. You need to hone it in such a way that it's very effective, because you don't want to miss those opportunities. If you have 10 appointments with buyers and sellers, wouldn't you rather all 10 say that they would love to work with you and engage you and actually hire you to help them find or buy or sell a home? And if not, if you're only getting 1 or 2 out of every 10 presentations, then you need to spend some time preparing, creating a presentation to buyers and sellers, and then practicing that. So one of the things that might be an action item on your annual plan is, I'm going to make my presentation to buyers and sellers more robust. I'm going to spend some time getting it customized, created exactly the way I want. I'm going to create 10 of these ahead of time. I'm going to have them ready to go. And then that way, when I get in front of a buyer or seller, I can basically succeed and really grow my business. So again, know where and how to spend your time. This is a great cheat sheet. Part number 3, step number 3, is to set new goals. And these new goals should be annual and monthly. So earlier I was talking about transactions. Let's just say that last year you did 25 transactions. Do you want to do 25 this year, or do you want to do 40? And so let's say that you want to do 40. Well, then that's where quarterly or monthly, I know that I need to be doing basically 10 a quarter. So that means I need to be doing 3 and a quarter, 3.5 transactions every month, so that I can make sure that I'm staying ahead of my goals. So in business, setting goals, one of the things to do is to take a minute and stop and analyze your current business and basically do some business analysis. So one question that I often ask when someone's considering creating a business plan is, okay, last year, what percentage of your time did you spend on marketing? So in a 40-hour work week, do you know how many hours you spent? Did you spend 2 hours? Did you spend none? Did you spend 10 hours out of those 40 hours on marketing? So if you remember, 10 of the items that we should be doing on a weekly basis as a realtor, 5 of those 10 are marketing. So, at some point we need to invest time. So you need to set a goal in your business plan, X amount of hours a week on marketing. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I created some pages here that talk about, well, how many transactions did you do last year? and fill that number in. How many do you want to do this year? And that helps you set some goals. Last year, how many transactions came from buyers? How many came from sellers? And if last year all your business came from buyers and you only had one listing, one sell side, maybe I want to increase my listings this year. So I'm going to put a marketing push on to win more listings so that next year half of my transactions come from listings and half come from buyers. And then that's how you can be in control of your business, by knowing what you did, then setting a goal of what you want to do, and then putting actions and action items in place to make those things come true. So what was your gross commission income? What were your total business expenses? How much were your withholdings for taxes, and therefore then what was your net income? What was your average gross income per transaction versus gross commission per transaction for the MLS? So for example, I did a study once where I checked with an agent. Agent was doing about, on average, on 15 transactions, they had an average of about 10,000 transactions or $10,000 gross commission income per transaction. Then the MLS average was $6,900 gross commission income per transaction. So in their case, they were able to gauge they are outperforming the average agent in their MLS. And it also helped them for business planning next year to create their income. They knew then at that point, if I want to make X amount of money, I need to do X amount of transactions based on my average income. And then I need to know also X amount of transactions if I start doing the average gross commission income of the MLS. And so then those two numbers help them create a business plan for the year. So one of the things you can do is take the average sales price of the MLS times the 3% commission or whatever percentage you want, have that, and then that comes up with the average gross commission for the MLS. And then also do that average sales price of your transactions times the percentage and come up with your average GCI. But then you get into this goal setting. So next year, what do I want my net new income to be? My new income next year. How many transactions then are needed to make that happen? Break that down to how many transactions are needed a month. So if I also know that I get out of every X amount of appointments, I get X amount of customers to work with me, then I know how many transactions I need to do. I can kind of backtrack and know how many appointments do I need to make. How much marketing, how many phone calls do I need to do to get an appointment? So it's a nice way to schedule out some goals, and then you can massage it every year up or down depending on your experience, because if you do this over time every year, you can really begin to dial in what your business planning needs to be. So those are some short tips and tricks to help you analyze your business and set some goals. And so basically now you've done that. You've basically you've figured out where to spend your time. You've put some goals together. So now you need to actually go create that plan, and then I like to say prioritize and execute. It basically starts with you doing something. Oftentimes agents are like, well, I don't have time to get started. I'll do that later. And I'm just like, just start today. Start tomorrow creating a list. So one of the things that I've done for all of you is I've created a one-page marketing plan. And there's two tabs in this Excel file that I'm going to share with you. And one has a bunch of marketing ideas already filled in. One of them, the tab, it's blank. And it's filled in for you to fill in what action items you think you want to do next year to drive and grow your business. And if you fill this one-page marketing plan out, it'll also put in what it costs you next to each item, each marketing item or action item task list, put what it costs to do that next to each item. So for example, if I'm sending out electronic emails, that may or may not cost money if I'm just using email service that is free. It doesn't cost me anything. Let's say that I'm doing postcards. It costs me money to have the postcards printed, and it costs postage, and it costs etc. So you would put a dollar item right next to that. Something like texting through marketing. Well, what does that cost? Well, I guess it costs you your monthly phone bill, but other than that, it doesn't cost you anything. It's really more of a time investment. So that's why a lot of items that are on this list have a $0 cost next to it. It's really more about your time and what it costs you in that manner. But the items that do cost money, like say you wanted to use a video service, like say a BombBomb or something like that, that has an annual or a monthly fee. You put that annual or monthly fee into the plan, and it tells you then, and it totals up at the bottom of that page, here's what your marketing expenditure should be for the year if you follow this plan. And then basically, now you've got a one-page plan that you have an entire year to get all of that stuff, all of those items done. Now, I've worked with agents before who gone through a marketing class, and at the end of it, they've said, Todd, you know, can you just write it all down on a sheet of paper and share it with us? So I did take a stab. Like I said, one tab has it already pre-written down. One tab is empty. And but agents who have done that, I've gone back and talked to them a year later, and they've said that one-page plan, by just following and doing and completing the items that I wrote down on a list that I said I wanted to do, basically completing that one-page plan, it doubled, it quadrupled my business. Whatever, you know, the different results vary. But at the end of the day, most agents have found a one-page marketing plan is simple, it's easy to do, and anyone can do it. Once you have it all written out, one of the key things is to put those action items on your calendar and do time block. Block some time out. One of the questions I'll often ask is, what are you doing every day between 8 and 10 a.m.? Could you focus on that time being marketing time to complete some of the tasks that are on your business plan between 8 and 10 a.m.? I know some large teams, they have action time in the morning, they have action time at the end of the day, in the afternoon, and you have to time block out on your calendar and get action items done during those times. So I call it time blocking. So if you want a quick, simple little plan here, complete your one-page plan, complete all the action items on that list, and then time block items on your calendar to do these action items. And then check in quarterly and check your progress and just start to track your results. And then as business starts to happen, I think you'll get excited and you'll say, this is working, I want to do more of that. And basically then you can just keep the momentum going. You know, I have a phrase that I talk often with the marketing team. I say, hey, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And so one of the things that I want to encourage you today is that all of you can do this. And if you think you can, I know you can. And you're going to have a better year next year if you just take a little time to stop and work on your business. Don't just be caught up in the day-to-day. So here's a synopsis real quick of what we just covered. Put a plan in place, learn where and how to spend your time, set some new goals, and then prioritize and execute that by putting action items on your calendar and following that one-page plan. So I hope that everything we've talked about today here on the Real Estate Podcast helps you maximize your profitability next year, be more successful by conducting some business planning in your real estate business. Now, I told you earlier I was going to share that document with you, the one-page marketing plan. So we've put this up for you to download. If you go to homesmart.com/business-planning, this one-page marketing plan will download to your computer, and you can use that Excel file then to create your one-page marketing plan. So thank you for joining us today here on the Real Estate Podcast. Again, I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International, and we wish you the most success in your business, and hopefully the topic we discussed today will help drive that success. Thank you for joining today, and we'll see you soon again back here at the Real Estate Podcast. Thank you.